listening to the Personal Growth Podcast with
Perza
and Cole.
First episode of the Personal Growth Podcast. Now, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Eric Cole. And you are?
My name is Dwayne Perza. So we just listened to Mathew McConaughey 5 minutes for the next 50 years video. Got it from YouTube. The YouTube link will be in the show notes. As we were listening to that, I was writing some notes, and the first thing that popped out was don't fall into the trap of being a victim.
Yes. Anything
come to mind whenever that popped up?
Well, I think, I don't know. I mean, it's easy. I feel like I understand where he's coming from, but also, for a guy like Mathew McConaughey, who has been a movie star for the last 20 years and has millions of dollars and an Oscar and all these other things, like, it's easy for him to say, don't fall into the trap of being a victim. But what about the people who are legitimate victims of things in their life that they may not have any control over? Like, you can't predict whether or not you're going to have a father who beat you because he's, drunk or anything like that. So, I mean, I take it with a grain of salt. And, like, it's good advice, but I don't know that it's always applicable for us regular people.
Okay. That's interesting that you went there with your thought process, because like my mind went to a completely different place, and it might just be like a difference of upbringing or a difference on the perspective we have of the world or whatever. But like what popped into my head is my younger brother told me once, this world would be a much better place if we did away with the idea of being victims of circumstance and started to become creators of circumstance.
Okay, that makes sense.
And, it's interesting because, like you're saying, like, there are actual people that are victims of things that are outside of their control. And to me, I know that is true. I have been in situations that were outside of my control, and I'm sure you have, and I'm sure there's lots of the people that might disagree with Mathew McConaughey's perspective there of don't fall into that trap. But I think what he was saying is, like, shit's gonna happen, but, like, your attitude towards it is really what's going to determine the direction that you go with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as you started talking, I started thinking that, I come from a broken home. My dad left when I was young, and I had every excuse in the world to turn into a fuck up. But, I made the choice that I wasn't going to go down. My father and I are a lot alike. So I decided early on that I wasn't gonna make the same mistake. So I mean, I can understand where that makes sense. Like, don't fall into the trap, because I did that for myself. Like, I'm not gonna, he, without going into too much detail, he got heavy into drugs and alcohol, and I'll have a drink every once in a while, but it's been a good few years that anybody's been able to say that, like. And even when I would, like, get drunk, it's not every night of the week. Like, I'll do it on my birthday or, like, New Year's. Like, the big nights that, so.
Yeah, the celebratory nights.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can understand that line of thinking. So, maybe I spoke too soon, initially.
Well, I mean, we're going with, like, we are straight shooting from the hip here, and that's what I think is going to make this a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny, you talk about coming from a broken home and your father having left you as a young child, and I come from a home where my mom and my dad are still married and have been married for 39 years, and
Damn.
And like, it's like, from the outside looking in, it's a pretty decent family dynamic.
Yeah.
And I chose the road of being a fuck up, like becoming heavily addicted to opiates and alcohol and benzodiazepines and any kind of drug I want more type situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have said that I was a victim of anything at any point, but I know that some of the excuses that I used to use how I used did not justify the means.
That was a great use of the word "use" in many different ways just now. Like my use of that I used when I used, like it was just I can't. Anyway, I like words, and that was a good series of the word "used" in different context in one sentence. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so, like, I don't know, man. Like, I like that. But let's go ahead and skip into the next. What else? What was the next thing of that video that popped into your mind? Like that you grabbed hold of mentally? I do have an unfair advantage. I took notes.
I probably should have been taking notes. I think he said something about what is success to you? Is that, having a family or being famous or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's a good way of looking at it too, because a lot of people think of success and they think, like Jim Carrey or Bill Gates or any of these people that have had a huge success. But at the same time, like if your kids grow up to be well adjusted, that's a success. If you've made a final payment on your car, that's a success. Like they're little things that can, if you add them all up, can make you feel pretty successful. So it's a good way of like taking the word that I think a lot of people think in big terms and kind of shrinking it down to like day-to-day stuff.
Right. Little bite-sized nuggets. Yeah.
If you're depressed, and you got out of bed this morning and you did the dishes, that's a success.
Brush your teeth, put on deodorant, whichever.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've been in situations where none of those things were even something that I wanted to look at.
Yeah.
So, small victories and those things are worthwhile to look at, especially in those moments of darkness, I think.
Absolutely.
Something else that he said pretty much right after he was talking about what success means to us is like, don't do anything that's going to jeopardize your soul, and prioritize the things that are going to like help your character to flourish.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast is because I think very highly of people that can speak in front of large groups of people or in small groups of people, and people want to listen to them, like Aaron Thomas and Zig Ziglar and Les Brown, Mathew McConaughey. Right now, obviously, we listen to him. Like his voice is just like, I want to listen to his voice forever. I don't know.
All right.
You know what? Never mind. We're gonna leave that alone. But yeah, like, doing this podcast, I think, is going to be able to help me to gain the type of character that is going to allow me to be more confident in speaking.
Okay. So you want to be one of those guys up in a room full of people like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
These are the 7 steps to self-enlightenment or whatever it is.
Well, let's not get too particular, but yeah.
Guru guys.
Yeah. Like, it's weird to say that I want to be like a guru or a motivational speaker or whatever, but there's a guy that I listen to a lot. His name is Alan Watts, and he talks about like, do something that you like doing and find somebody to pay you to do it.
Yeah.
And you being a comic, like, exactly what that's like.
Absolutely.
And eventually, if I can't imagine you being like, I'm probably not going to go anywhere with this, and continue to do what you do.
If I didn't think I was going to go somewhere with it, I wouldn't even. It's a big pain in the ass sometimes being a comic. Like you got to deal with 8 people in an audience, or you said something and now the room is against you, so you got to fight from behind, and like like people think it's easy, and everybody thinks they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, the funny guy at the office thinks he can heckle me, and I won't make him feel like a piece of shit in front of a room full of strangers. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, relax, dude. I'm a professional. I've practiced.
Dude, do you mind if I, like, talk about one of your jokes?
No, please.
Do you have your joke about, like, when Sir asked you if you would suck a dick for $1 million?
Yeah.
It was, I think it was, like, the Friday night show that you were up.
Yes,
featuring
this past weekend.
Yeah, and the dude was all like,
he goes, yeah, well, so the joke is a friend of mine asked me, Eric, because that's my name, would you suck a dick for $1 million? And I always pause for just a second, because 8 times out of 10 somebody has something to say in the audience, and this one guy who I had shut down earlier in the night already. And he was, well, for $1 million, I would. And so I just turned to him and I went, oh, yeah. Have you ever sucked a dick before? No. Well, then what makes you think you've got a blowjob in you worth $1 million?
It's so funny.
Which, I mean, and I can't take credit for coming up with that on my own. I have to credit another comic, Solomon Giorgio, because he came to town last year for the 208 Comedy Fest, I think, or maybe Comedy Fort. He was back here this year too, but last year he told a joke about, it was similar but different in that he's always surprised when men are like, oh yeah, I'll do it for $1 billion, and I'm like, you have $1 billion blow? So I spoke to him about it, though. Like, him and I had a conversation about it, and he said it's alright that I do it.
Nice.
I only use it when a heckler pipes up.
Yeah,
you know,
busting your chops.
Yeah. So I can't take credit for coming up with the response, especially if we're recording and people are gonna listen to this. So I want to give credit where credit is due.
Fair. Solomon Giorgio. Okay,
Solomon hilarious Giorgio. Comedian. If you have a chance, pay attention to him. He's great.
Check him out. We could probably find him on Instagram or something. Right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. We'll find him and put him in the show notes or something.
Sure.
Sweet. Okay. The next thing that stuck out to me, something else that he was talking about. There was cutting out that. Oh, backtrack a little bit. Who we aren't is just where we aren't and who we aren't is just as important as who we are and where we are.
Yeah.
You know. So I can say that a year ago I was in a different place mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically than I am today. And in some of those areas it's better or worse depending on like I had a way more in-depth spiritual practice a year ago, and it's something that I want to get back into. And he was talking about making those things, the things that are going to improve your character, a priority.
Right.
And so, like to look at that, like what's something, two things. Where some area of your life where you've improved, and some area of your life that you have digressed.
Okay. Well, an area of my life that I improved, I think, is my job situation. This time last year, I was working as a server, and everybody's shifts were getting cut, and I wasn't making the same money that I was making earlier. Like when I first started the job. So it was actually right around this time last year that I started making plans to get a new job, and I did that in January. I moved from serving, where I rely heavily on tips, to now I work 40 hours a week at a little over $11 an hour. So I've got a steady paycheck coming in, and I'm staying on top of bills, and I can afford to put more than $10 worth of gas in my car at a time. So it's in that, as far as that goes, like money management, I think I've gotten a little bit better, just because I know that every 2 weeks I'm making this amount of money. as opposed to, oh, I hope it's busy tonight, otherwise I'm fucking, borrow money from somebody, you know what I mean? So that's nice.
So do you think that the